Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. My email address is tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a 2022 limited edition of 76 pieces. This is the H. Moser Cie Streamliner Flyback Chronograph Undefeated, a collaboration between Schaffhausen-based independent watchmaker H. Moser Cie and LA area fashion stylists Undefeated. This watch builds on the original 2020 Streamliner Flyback. So, in DLC blackened stainless steel, the watch is 42.3 millimeters in diameter, 14.6 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug, the case, cushion-shaped, is 42.2 millimeters. If we measure the first link on each side, the effective lug-to-lug dimension, the real distance across the wrist, is 48.3. Still a good fit on a medium to large wrist. Now, my wrist is exactly that, 16 centimeters in circumference, medium-sized, and the watch wears well. You can see almost all of that extra length at the edges is from the bracelet, so it doesn't have the look of a watch case overhanging the edge of the wrist. I believe down to a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference, you're going to wear this well. And you can even see that it's fairly low slung with a sloped case flank to fit underneath the cuff. The bracelet is beautifully organic, almost looking like the armor of some sort of ancient giant or segmented annelid, something you might see under the ocean on a crustacean of some sort, or, to trace it back to the source material itself, inspired by the Speed Sonic lobster tail Omega bracelets of the 70s, or maybe even the Abel Sport Classic from that period. The interlock between the links and the tolerance of the step down is far tighter and more precise than what I typically find on these integrated bracelet sports watches. You could see as I roll through the light that the interfaces are polished. There's a polished bevel down the edge, so though it's all black, we do have contrast. There's satin across the top. Note that you can't see any daylight between the links. That's how tight the tolerances are. We have here pins and sleeves used to fix removable links, and we have quite a few removable links, so you will get a good sizing there. If you want to size this watch, you'll need a block and punch, but pin sleeves have a good reputation for staying put once in place. Now we have the Moser logo. Externally, we have a twin trigger, Brogioli made, double folding clasp, and you know it's Brogioli made because it says BRO right there. That's a bracelet and clasp factory down in Ticino, Switzerland, that works with brands like La Suta Original, Moser, IWC, and Longa, so they're in good hands in that regard. The look of the watch is drawn from the 70s, but it doesn't plagiarize a specific model, whereas a lot of modern takes on the integrated bracelet steel sports watch genre go straight for the Royal Oak or the Nautilus. This draws from a lot of different inspirations. You've got this radial lapping pattern of satination across the bezel, as seen on many different 70s sports watches. You've got this sort of integrated tonneau profile, reminding me of something like an Oris Chronoris Star, or maybe one of the later Mark series Speedmasters. You've got that integrated lobster tail-like bracelet. It's a homage to an era, a love note, if you will, to a great period in watch design, without specifically plagiarizing something that came before, so it has quite a bit of originality and integrity to it. Like all Moser watches, there's a recessed profile on the side. The lips of the case back in the bezel are polished. The recess of the case is all satinated. The pushers themselves for the chronograph are polished. And you can see how the chronograph works. It's actually a central register chronograph, so we have radial 60 seconds, but we also have a radial 60 minutes display, like an old Lemania 1340 or 5100, both of them 70s era chronograph movements. So it's easy to read those chronograph minutes outboard. I always find a radial 60-minute display easily discernible, whereas small sub-registers can sometimes impede comprehension. We have a nice cambered and boxed sapphire here, so that's an expensive sapphire. Flat sapphires are cheap, boxed sapphires are dear. Now this is a flyback chronograph, so you can reset and restart with a single push of the reset trigger, but it also operates as a standard chronograph if you wish, with stop-start capability. The crown is a screw down, the watch is 120 meters water resistant, and Moser boasts that you can actually use the chronograph pushers down to 120 meters. That is their own attestation. That is not my claim. And that's not something that came from a boutique level employee. That is from the Milan family that runs the brand. Now you can see in the dark, we have a very dark version of Moser's ceramic Globalite loom. It's the black version of Globalite, which means high style but low luminescence. The hands themselves are polished, though even they have a little bit of a black chrome tinge to them. We have the Undefeated logo up at 12 o'clock, and then we have tri-Arabic numerals at 3, 6, and 9. The dial includes laser ablated features and then a signature Moser fumé or smoked drift from lighter to darker as we move from center to edge. You could see that the calibrations for the minutes are ghosted outboard, but it's actually an easy watch to read in person. And there are quite a few different textures and tones. If you look, you can see the laser cutting used different spacings to create different granular patterns, but it also has different directional patterns, as we have a combination of diagonal, vertical, and then horizontal to break up what would otherwise be a somewhat monotonous landscape. Now on the reverse side, we have the Chronograph in one of its many forms. This is one of the finest chronograph calibers you can find in the world today. And according to Jean-Marc Viderecht, who is the principal of Agenor, which makes this movement, it meets all of the underlying standards for the Geneva hallmark. They just haven't certified it. Now, Moser calls this the HMC 902, and perhaps the biggest surprise is that it's an automatic movement. The rotor itself sits underneath the dial, and it energizes a 54-hour power reserve. The movement is substantial in that it's properly sized to fit this large case, and it beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, immensely complicated. It pivots on 55 joules. It does feature a combination of column wheel function selection. It has a nice crisp column wheel action, and then a lateral clutch that actually involves two different engagement systems. There's a toothed engagement, and then there's a smooth roller. So as this system engages, the idea is that it has less jump than a standard chronograph clutch would if you had a lateral arrangement. So it does away with a little bit of the jump that's inherent to the operation of a lateral clutch, and the smooth roller is what achieves that. And I'll also demonstrate something real quick so you can see. One of the few features the movement does not have is hacking seconds, so just keep that in mind. But with a flyback chronograph capability, you can just reset with the flyback and use to synchronize to a reference time and leave the chronograph running. I'm told that operating this particular clutch, unlike a standard lateral clutch, will not cause additional wear and tear to the watch. And of course, all of this remarkably high-end. It is an expensive watch. It is premium in every regard. It is a flagship even by Moser's standard, and Moser typically makes between 2,000 and 3,000 watches a year, so even by the rarefied standards of that, this is going to be one of the flagship pieces, both in dial, case, bracelet, and movement specification. It's the best of everything. You can see just how fine the finish is on the reverse side, as we have mirrored anglage not just on the edge of the brass bridges, but also on the edge of the steel chronograph components. Solarization runs rampant, including on the wheel below my finger as well as on the ratchet wheel itself atop the barrel. We have graining and beveling on the steel parts. We have Côte de Genève with double-crested Côte de Genève pattern unique to Moser across the brass bridges. We have engine-turned perlage. We have satination on the wheels, and all of the screws have been black polished. You get your money's worth with this watch. This is a press piece, so keep in mind that not everything here will be identical relative to the production models, which will be even better in fit, finish, and spec. This has also led a hard life, so if it has some marks of wear, you can blame Hodinkee. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.